Hello everybody and welcome to an episode of How to Play, where today we are not looking at a review of a game, but instead we are looking at reviews of card sleeves. Let's take a look. Here you can see everything set up in front of me for the first comparison. These are Euro card sleeves. This container is wrong, but for these are all Euro size sleeves and some just standard Magic cards, which are standard size. Off to the side just for depth comparison so you can see the difference. So, starting from left to right, we have the Fantasy Flight game sleeves, we have Swan sleeves, Mayday Premium, and Mayday Standard. So, you're probably wondering what the thicknesses are of these sleeves and what I think about them. So, first of all, Fantasy Flight game sleeves. These are my go-to for sleeves. I really like them. They're 100 microns thick, so they are among the most thick that you can buy, with the exception of being Dragon Shield sleeves, which is something that we will look at later. Next, these Swan sleeves. These just got released last year, I believe, with the Mayday Kickstarter. So Swan Panasia Games, they were first introduced in Asia, and now they have moved over, partnering with Mayday to come out with some new sleeves. So I picked some up, and I like them. Yeah, they are 90 microns thick. These Mayday Premium sleeves, considering they're the same company, they are identically thick, so they're both 90 microns. And here, the Mayday Standard sleeves, these are 40 microns thick and come in a pack of 100. So you can see here that Fantasy Flight comes in 50, Swan sleeves come in 100, gigantic little container here. 50 for the Premium and 100 for the Standard. If we take a look at the size difference, we'll see that Fantasy Flight's over here. It's pretty decent. Swan sleeves, you put them side by side. They're a little bit thinner. The Swan and the Mayday, identical. And the Mayday Premium and the Mayday Standard, if you look, you can see the Standard is quite a bit smaller. So, Fantasy Flight, my go-to. Swan sleeves just came out last year. Very, very good. I wouldn't say they're as great of quality as Fantasy Flight sleeves, but their price makes up the difference. One thing to note about Fantasy Flight sleeves is that there's a lot more room on the top. So, whereas the Mayday Premium, if I put these side by side, you can see that the Fantasy Flight has about a millimeter height difference between them. If we go to the Swan sleeves, it's even more noticeable. So the Swan sleeves are quite tight to the top in comparison. The same can be said horizontally. So if I push these cards in, you can see that over here, there's a bit more room on the Fantasy Flight sleeve. And that might be annoying to some people. The Swan and the Mayday are basically identical. You can see that the Swan behind here is a tiny bit smaller height-wise, but width-wise they're about the same. If I put these back right, yep. These Mayday Standard sleeves, we compare them to the Mayday Premium, they don't have much room on the sides, which is nice. So they are thinner that way in width, but barely. And height-wise, they're a tiny bit shorter. This could also be due to the fact that it's much thinner plastic. So you can see that if I push the card here down to the edge, there's still a little white line here. You don't really see that with the Mayday Standard sleeves. So out of this round of 4, what do I think? I would actually say Fantasy Flight have the best quality sleeves. Mayday's Premium are probably my second favorite out of all of these.
these. They actually surpassed my expectations considering the quality of these standard sleeves. These are the ones that I first went to and have sleeved Dominion with all the expansions minus one. And they were very disappointing. They were okay since they were my first set of sleeves bought for Dominion. But if we take out the card from each pile, you can see the difference here. That's not a sound that you want to hear when you're looking at sleeves. This is a much better sound. If you look at the Swan sleeves, you're going to hear the exact same thing as with the Mayday. Not the crinkly opening a present at Christmas sort of thing, but just the smooth slide of plastic. And the same goes for the Fantasy Flight. So just to review again, 100 microns, 90, 90, and 40. Yeah, as I was saying, these really aren't the greatest, and I would never recommend buying these if you're thinking about sleeving games. I'm leaving Dominion like this simply because there are thousands of cards, and I don't really want to splurge all the money in getting a ton more Swan sleeves or Mayday Premium sleeves, but I regret my decision. Okay, next up are the standard sized sleeves. From left to right, we have Dragon Shield, Fantasy Flight with blue backs, Fantasy Flight with clear backs, Ultra Pro with green backs, and everybody's favorite thing to hate, the penny sleeve from Ultra Pro. And of course, on the right side, we have the magic sleeves, just for comparison. So first of all, the Dragon Shield sleeve. These, in comparison with the Fantasy Flight, are shorter, as you can see. So they're much tighter to the magic card, whereas the Fantasy Flight ones are taller, just like the other set. And I really like them. They're really easy to shuffle. Video of me shuffling right now. Yes, great. They're great. They are also the most expensive, which we will talk about shortly. The next ones are the Fantasy Flight with the blue back. I'm not a huge fan of this blue back thing. None of the cards have come apart on me yet, but I really haven't used them very much. I've used these to sleeve Android Netrunner using blue for the corporation and red for the runner. And it's worked just fine, but when you try to shuffle these, it doesn't go so well. You can definitely feel as though you're putting pressure on the edge here. But as I said, none have broken on me yet, so we'll see. But they're not my favorite, and I definitely like these better, the Fantasy Flight clear sleeves. These are much safer feeling to shuffle, and they are probably all around my favorite sleeve of this set over here. The next one is the Ultra Pro. So these are green backed, and unlike the Fantasy Flight, which has a sort of smooth surface here, the Ultra Pro is more sticky. So the Fantasy Flight, if you knock some cards over, they go flying. But with the Ultra Pro, on the other hand, there's definitely a lot more sense of stickiness with the cards, which can be really great if you are just concerned about, shuffling the cards, putting them together. But if you don't like the rough texture, then that's your problem. Also, there's a hologram on the bottom left side. Ultra Pro does this for some stupid reason. It's really annoying to have this, shiny silver thing at the bottom left hand of every single card. The reason why I like the sleeve cards, in particular with, clear sleeves like Fantasy Flight or Dragon Shield, is that you can see the fullness of both sides of the card. Obviously with Magic, it's just the same standard thing at the back, but with some games, there's art on the rear side, and I like to see that. The last one is the penny sleeve. These are worthless. Literally. Just don't go with them unless the only thing you're concerned about is having kids get their greasy fingers after dinner on your cards. They're definitely the cheapest out of all the things that we've seen today, but they are also the worst quality. If we compare size, and sure, why not? We can do it. It's about the same as the Fantasy Flight sleeves, but at the same time, when you hold the Fantasy Flight sleeve, you can see it's nice and rigid, whereas this, you can't really even hold it up because you're going to be pressing into the card. They are that thin. I don't know the exact microns of this, but I'm guessing it's about 20, whereas Fantasy Flight here are 100, Ultra Pro are 100, for their clear sleeves anyway. So yeah, these are the Ultra Pro penny sleeves. Okay, let's just look at the thickness comparison for a second. So as I said, these are a bit thicker than the Fantasy Flight ones, and I will show this to you. See, thicker. Fantasy Flight are obviously thicker than the penny sleeves, which are thicker than having no sleeves at all. So if you're looking for sleeves that fit into a box and you do not need to somehow make room, as I have with many games, thinner is better. But if you care about protecting your cards more than you do, I guess, having proper room for everything, then thicker cards are the way to go. Thicker sleeves, sorry. You've also noticed here, press down, the Ultra Pro, as well as the Fantasy Flight colored back cards will always be thicker, since it isn't just the clear plastic, and there's actually, a thicker layer of plastic on the back that is around the card. So these will always be thicker. Okay, so now let's look at all of them together and talk about their prices. So right now you see everything in front of you, all the Euro size sleeves at the top and all the standard size sleeves at the bottom. And we're going to talk about the prices of each. Now, the most common place that you can find sleeves online is Starlit Citadel. It's one of the biggest places in Canada, and it offers almost all of these sleeve types except for the Swan sleeves. But they offer the Mayday, the Dragon Shield, sorry, this one, even penny sleeves. They got it all at the Ultra Pro too. It's important to note here that even though I have different sizes of sleeves here, so the Euro and the Standard, the prices for Euro and Standard size sleeves are the same. The reason why I just didn't get a whole bunch of standard size sleeves is because they were sold out of some of the ones up here. So they didn't have the Mayday Premium or the Mayday Premium or the Mayday Normal. And they also don't sell Swan sleeves for the website that I bought them from. But yeah, so let's compare prices from Starlit Citadel. Right here, the Dragon Shield. This is the most expensive sleeve you can buy. It's actually scary how expensive they are. They come in this box, which you can reuse and label for decks of some sort, or just to hold your cards. And you can see here, with 15 sleeves taken out, it actually almost fills the whole box with the 100. Their price at Starlit Citadel is $12.95 per 100. That's right, $12.95. This is Canadian. This is on one of the most popular sites. So if you're from the States and you don't know what Starlit Citadel is, this is really average. I've seen prices up to $18 for 100 Dragon Shield sleeves, which is pretty ludicrous, but they are also the highest quality sleeves inside this whole batch. Next is these Fantasy Flight backed sleeves. They cost about $5.90 per 100, so half the price of the Dragon Shield sleeves. the ones that are clear, you're looking at about $7.90 per 100. So quite a bit more expensive than these ones, but they're also higher quality, and you know, you don't need to worry about the slippery back and these things splitting as easily. The Ultra Pro sleeves, they are about $7 for 100. They're some of the best fitting cards, some of the best shuffling cards, but they have this hologram. I just can't emphasize that enough. They have this hologram, and I don't like it. Big con for me. Penny sleeves, 95 cents per 100. By far the cheapest, and by far do not waste your money. Over here, we have the Fantasy Flight, I believe, sleeves. So again, these are $7.90 per 100. We have the Swan sleeves. These are quite a bit cheaper, and are only $3.25 per 100. But that was at a different website, since Starlit Citadel does not sell Swan sleeves. Now I'll talk about those websites and their prices later. Over here we have the Mayday Premium. These are awesome, and they only cost $5.90 per 100. So $7.90, $3.25, $5.90, and these pieces of crap, the Mayday Standard sleeves, which are essentially just these penny sleeves up to a quarter of a notch and sold for much more. They are $2.95 per 100. So again, just going over them quickly. The top here, $7.90, $3.25, $5.90, $2.95, $12.95, $7.90, or no, sorry, $5.90, $5.90, $7.90, $6.95, and 95 cents. So that's all per 100. Some of them are sold in 50 packs, some of them are sold in 100 packs, and you can just do the math, but that's all the price per 100 that I've calculated out for you guys. Now, things do get cheaper. I told you the cheap price of Swan sleeves, and I'll just tell you about the websites that I get from in Canada. There is Supernova Games, or Je Supernova, if you know you're into French and stuff. They're based in Quebec, and I know the owner of the store. I talked to him and asked him about his opinion about the games, and he's a really, really great guy, and I've told him that I pretty much will not buy games from any other site because he has just great customer service. Next is Great Board Games. They used to be German board games, or German games, or something like that, but now they're Great Board Games, and they have very similar prices. So I'll just tell you what these things are in cheap prices. I highly recommend these websites if you're in Canada. They offer free shipping if you go over a certain amount on Supernova Games, and I think it's $12 all across Canada if you go with Great Board Games, and the prices are very competitive between each other. So there's also a Swan Standard that is sold on Great Board Games, and those only cost $1.84 per 100, but they're the same thickness as these, and I would not recommend even trying them, even though they are really cheap. So at Supernova Games, we have Fantasy Flight sleeves going for $5 per 100. At Great Board Games, we have the Mayday Premium over here. Those are $3.58 per 100. And as I mentioned, the Swan Premiums here at Great Board Games are $3.25 per 100. And the Dragon sleeves, instead of $12.95 at Starlit Citadel, they are $8.95 at Great Board Games. They also offer some of these other ones. This is, of course, the same price, $5 per 100. I believe these are even a bit cheaper. They don't sell Ultra Pro, but with the options that you have available, that should be plenty. And yeah, just as a quick summary, the best bang for the buck is going to be these. They aren't quite as nice as the Fantasy Flight sleeves, and I've heard people talking about discoloration and stuff with them. But the Mayday Premium sleeves at $179 per 50, you can't really go wrong. The runner-ups, of course, are my favorites. The Fantasy Flight Game sleeves, which are just amazing sleeves, $250 per 50. And the most expensive, highest quality are the Dragon sleeves. One problem I do have with them is that the edges are so rough in comparison to any other sleeve that I can, feel that I could instantly put these together and see where the dividing line is just because of the roughness of the edge. I don't even know. Yeah, there we go. The worst value, believe it or not, is not the penny sleeves, but the Mayday Standard sleeves. I don't know how they could do these so well and these so wrong, but do not buy these. That crinkling sound, the same crinkling sound you heard with the penny sleeves. And let's just show them side by side so you can understand. Penny sleeves. Yeah, enjoy the pain. Okay, and that's all we have for now. So if you're going to pick up sleeves, I highly recommend the Mayday Premiums. I also recommend Fantasy Flight Game sleeves. Try out Swan sleeves if you're looking for something a bit cheaper and want high quality as well. They aren't as good of quality as the Mayday Premium, except these are really, really good sleeves too. So if you don't mind going down in quality, so from Fantasy Flight and Mayday Premium, they're about the same, and these are just a little bit below. I highly recommend checking out Swan sleeves as well. Anyway, that was our video. I hope this was informative. Everything is laid out in the description in case you didn't click see the full description or whatever the thing is. I highly appreciate any comments, questions, or messages you guys might have. Please send them to me and I will do my best to evaluate some stuff. If you want to see some more sleeves, if you have any requests about things that I can review, just let me know. Anyway, have fun doing the stuff that you do. Yeah, that's right. This is the center of the camera. I might have to redo all this whole video.